Today we're going to talk about 5 FAQs, frequently asked questions, on the PPP Forgiveness Application process. So let's get started. I'm going to be interviewing our Chief Financing Rockstar, Trevor Curran. So here we go. Welcome to Advancing with Financing. Trevor, are you ready? I have 5 FAQ questions that our clients are asking. So let's share, shall we?
Ready.
Where does one submit their PPP forgiveness application?
Aha. You submit it to the lender that gave you the money. Now, here's the thing.
Yes.
Not all the lenders have their act together yet about the PPP forgiveness process.
Shocking.
Lots of folks are receiving information about it, and lots of folks are not receiving information about it. Bottom line is, the way the process works is your lender will send you the process and the application and how to submit the application to the lender. Once the lender reviews it and approves it internally at the lender, they send it to the SBA for confirmation, and that's when you get the answer onto your forgiveness request.
This is really important as well because, and rightfully so, that there are people that have mixed up EIDL and PPP and SBA versus the lender, and who's processing the app and which funds from which bucket of the CARES Act, etc. So your lender who funded your PPP loan will be where you submit the forgiveness application. Next, what happens if someone received the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, aka EIDL, EIDL? How does that affect their PPP loan?
You've got to be careful here because utilization is the key element here. So for forgiveness of the PPP loan, the utilization of the funds comes down to what are the eligible expenses: payroll, rent, or mortgage interest if your business owns the building, utilities. So those are essentially the eligible expenses. If you received an EIDL loan and you want to use that funding for the same expenses, be sure that the two utilization periods don't overlap. In other words, if you've got enough PPP money to fund you for 8 weeks, let's say, and you got an EIDL loan around the same time, don't use the EIDL monies in the same 8-week period for the same expenses. And keep in mind, with an EIDL loan, it covers a broader range of working capital needs. So you could still use the EIDL money for other expenses like servicing existing debt and things like that, but you should not and cannot use it for the same expenses in the same time period as PPP.
That's really important, the covered period. I think people have been confused a little bit on the covered period because it was extended, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it
was originally 8 weeks and now it's 24 weeks.
Okay. All right.
The covered period on your PPP loan began on the day the money's deposited into your operating account from the PPP bank.
Tick tock, the clock talks. Next, number 3. If someone was approved for a PPP loan and they used 100% of payroll for that, why is there chatter with the SBA that $10,000 of the PPP loan will not be forgiven because of the EIDL grant?
Minor defect in the CARES Act that Congress prepared, and that defect is that apparently the grant that businesses were supposed to receive under the CARES Act for the EIDL loan, which was up to $10,000, when you're accounting for the forgiveness on your PPP application, that grant gets subtracted. So for argument's sake, in this example we're using where you got, let's say, $50,000 of PPP money, and you used 100% of that for payroll, which means it's 100% forgivable, right? But if you also got a grant on the EIDL loan, let's say for $10,000, not everybody got $10,000, but let's say $10,000, then on the paperwork and on the filing of the forgiveness, that $10,000 grant gets subtracted from the $50,000. So essentially, $40,000 of the $50,000 will be forgiven. The other $10,000 you will be required to make payments on at 1% interest under the terms of the PPP loan. So it's not really a grant.
No words. And I know Trevor is relishing this because that
Every second
rarely
of this.
happens.
Ever, never, nevermore. As the raven, thus quoth the raven, nevermore.
So question number 4. Should I submit my PPP forgiveness application now or should I wait?
A lot of confusion about this, and it goes into question number 5 as well. It's really going to depend on if and when another round of stimulus passes. Essentially, if you have used your PPP money for 100% payroll, you should file now. And in many cases, that's for folks, for businesses that got $50,000 or less. On the other hand, if you used the PPP money for other expenses, the qualified or the eligible expenses such as rent/mortgage interest if your business owns the building, or utilities, you might want to wait, and we'll answer the reason why in question number 5.
There is some chatter, and chatter is the word of the day, that there may be automatically the PPP loan may be 100% forgiven, so without application, without a process.
This dovetails from question number 4. Chatter is just that. It's chatter. At Aurora Consulting, when we're processing our clients' loan applications, we don't go by chatter. We don't pay attention to chatter at all. I'd rather watch YouTube videos with kittens rolling around in little fur balls than listen to chatter, because chatter is not regulation. Chatter is not law. The reason the chatter is out there is because it has come out that in the next round of stimulus, which is not passed as of the making of this video, that there would be 100% forgiveness for all PPP loans, regardless of how you used it. That's why with question number 4, we said if you used it for 100% payroll, you should probably file your forgiveness now. But if you didn't, and you used it for other eligible expenses, or there's confusion on your utilization period and overlap with EIDL loans, you might want to wait. Because if and when a new stimulus package passes, and it becomes law, and the SBA has regulations that derive out of that law, then we will be able to say, hey, this is not chatter, this is real, and this is what the government is putting forth. And hopefully they will forgive 100%, but there's no guarantee of that because right now it's just
Chatter.
Bada bing, bada boom.
If there is anything in this video that you found useful, helpful, informative, educational, entertaining, please hit that thumbs up, leave a comment below, hit the bell, subscribe, and support every time we discuss making sense of the nonsense of the disaster of disaster financing. I'm Linda Ray.
I'm Trevor. We are Aurora Consulting,
Financing solutions for your business success story.